Artificial intelligence. Just saying those two words can bring up so much, a mix of total wonder and, let's be honest, a little bit of worry. On one hand, it promises to solve some of humanity's biggest problems, but on the other, it really taps into some of our deepest fears. So today, we're going to unpack that fear. We're going to look at what separates the public's sci-fi nightmares from what the experts are actually worried about. Okay, so when one of the biggest names in tech, Elon Musk, says something like this, you kind of have to sit up and listen, right? I mean, he's not comparing AI to the next iPhone. He's comparing it to nuclear bombs. That kind of stark warning, coming from someone who is deep inside the industry, well, that's a huge reason why this whole conversation feels so incredibly urgent. And that really brings us to the heart of the matter, the central question of this whole explainer. Are we building something that's going to take us to the next level, or are we literally building our own replacement? I know it sounds dramatic, but it's a question people are genuinely, seriously asking right now. So to get a real handle on the risk, we've got to look at it from two totally different angles. First, what does the public, everyday people, imagine when they think about AI going wrong? And second, what are the scientists, the ones actually building this stuff, truly concerned about? And here's the spoiler. Those two lists of fears, they don't always line up. So on one side, we have the public's fears, and we're going to look at a big survey of university students to get a feel for that. And on the other side, we've got the scientists' worries, based on concerns from European researchers. And believe me, their concerns are, well, they're pretty different. All right, let's dive in. First up, the public's verdict. What are the big anxieties for the generation that's literally going to grow up and work alongside this technology? So to figure this out, we're looking at a pretty detailed survey from 2018. It polled almost 1,000 university students in Romania. Now, I know what you're thinking. 2018 feels like a lifetime ago in AI years, but their answers give us this really fascinating snapshot, a baseline for the fears of the generation that's set to inherit all of this. Okay, the first fear on the list is one that hits close to home for pretty much everybody. Our jobs, right? I mean, with AI automating more and more, what's that going to mean for people who need to work for a living? And the answer they gave was pretty overwhelming. A whopping 76.7% of them think it's likely that AI will mean fewer jobs for people. Think about that. More than 3 out of every 4 students. That is a massive consensus on a huge, huge economic fear. All right, next up, the survey dives into something a little more dystopian, something that feels like it's pulled straight from a sci-fi thriller. We're talking about the militarization of AI. Are we really heading towards a future with intelligent, autonomous weapons? And wow, look at these numbers. A huge chunk of students see this as a very real possibility. If you add up the highly likely and the quite likely camps, you're looking at almost 75%. That's huge. It tells you that for a lot of young people, killer robots aren't just something you see in the movies anymore. They see it as an expected part of our future. So you see the pattern here, right? From losing jobs to killer robots, the public's fears tend to look a lot like the big, dramatic, world-ending threats we see in Hollywood. But when we switch gears and look at the scientists, the picture changes completely. Their fear isn't some evil AI mastermind with a diabolical plan. No, it's something way more subtle and, honestly, way more immediate. It's the fear of a black box. All right, so let's make that pivot. Let's talk about the experts' concerns. For these European scientists, the key word isn't panic, it's caution. They're way less worried about a Terminator-style future and much more focused on the very real, very practical problems with the AI we're building today. And their concerns are all kind of tangled together. You've got this black box problem, where we just don't know how the AI is coming up with its answers. Then there's bias, where AI learns from our own messed up data. It can even threaten the integrity of science itself. And when you throw in the fact that we're totally dependent on a handful of tech giants and there are no clear ethical rules, well, you can see why they're urging caution. Okay, let's break down this black box thing. Just imagine an AI that tells a doctor a patient has a rare disease. Great, right? But what if the doctor asks, okay, why? And the AI can't answer. It can't explain what symptoms it saw or what logic it used. In a field like medicine, the why is everything. Without it, you can't really trust the answer, and you definitely can't fix it if it's wrong. And then you've got bias. This one's pretty simple. An AI is only as smart or as fair as the data you feed it. So if we train it on, say, decades of biased loan applications or medical data, guess what? The AI is going to learn all those biases and treat them like gospel. It's not evil, it's just repeating our own worst mistakes on a massive scale. Now, this next one is a really big deal for scientists. They're worried that AI could start churning out research papers that look totally legit, but are completely fake. Imagine a world flooded with fake scientific discoveries. How would anyone know what's real anymore? It could completely undermine the foundation of science as we know it. So we've seen this split, right? The public's fears versus the experts' concerns. But what's really interesting is that this divide also shows up within the public. If we jump back to that student survey for a minute, the data shows some pretty surprising splits on who is the most afraid of AI. So when the survey asked about the ultimate risk, I'm talking about the idea that AI could literally destroy humanity, the difference between how men and women answered was, well, it was huge. And just look at this data. It is absolutely striking. About 27% of male students thought, yeah, it's likely AI could destroy us. But for female students, that number jumps to over 46%, nearly half. Now, the survey doesn't explain why there's such a big gap, but that is a massive difference in how this ultimate threat is perceived. And there was another big divide, this time based on what people were studying. So what do you think? Does being closer to the tech, studying science and engineering, make you more afraid or less? Well, here's the answer. We see another really clear split. The tech students were way less likely to fear an AI apocalypse compared to students in the humanities. So what does that tell us? Maybe, just maybe, that knowing how the nuts and bolts work makes you a bit less scared of the sci-fi stuff. On the flip side, maybe the humanities students who study history and society are more tuned in to all the unpredictable ways this could go wrong for us as people. So when you put it all together, what's the takeaway? It's that these European scientists are absolutely not anti-AI. Not at all. They're anti-reckless AI. Their whole message is about slowing down and being responsible. They're pushing for a world where we choose caution over speed, where things like transparency and human oversight are more important than just racing to build the next big thing. And that really leaves us with the big final question, doesn't it? The real question isn't if AI is going to shape our future. That ship has sailed. The question is, who is going to be in control, and how wisely are we going to use this incredible, powerful tool? Because in the end, the future isn't about the machine. It's about the wisdom or the foolishness of the people guiding it.